My name is Peter Barnes, and I was in A and B Squadron, 3rd Cavalry Regiment, and I served at Nui Dat in Vietnam. Probably when I first arrived in Vietnam, and it was a bit of a shock because I realised this was all fair dinkum, and I had a feeling of, shit, what have I done here? And probably the first time I had contact with the enemy would have been the other thing that stuck with me, because they were both wake-up calls, I think. Well, just the fact that people were shooting at me. I didn't like it. And I suppose the experience just, you just realise that this is not a game. Because when I was in the army, when I went into the army, I quite enjoyed it, and it was a bit of an adventure, and it was all very new, and I took to it like a duck to water. But when I got to Vietnam, I suppose I was naive, and when I got there I thought, I'm not too sure about this, I better be a little bit, I was a bit taken aback. Again, I'd say it's about who I am. I mean, I got out of the army, I got on with life, started work, started a family, and didn't really think about it. And I suppose I did lots of things that were probably related to the army, but I didn't know I was doing them because of the army, and because of my experiences. But we all go through life, and we're all formed by the experiences, the books that we read, the people we meet, all that sort of stuff. And it was just part of me, I suppose, but I really didn't, I wasn't smart enough to try and work out why I was doing things. I remember my wife talking to me about not being present in the family, being there. I suppose I saw myself as the breadwinner, and I worked hard to support the family, but I can remember my wife saying, you're not present. And I think that was probably a bit of the army experience. Yes, I think, and the people I've spoken to have experienced a similar type thing. I went to a reunion, I think it was in the 90s, and I remember, it was in Perth, the first reunion. So a couple of mates looked me up and said, there's this reunion on, would you like to go to it? I wasn't too sure at the time because I hadn't thought about the army. It just, wasn't in the front of my mind. And I went to this reunion, and I remember at the time thinking, this is the worst thing I've ever done, because I was standing around chatting to these mates who I knew, and I knew I was over there with them, but I kept saying, they were talking about incidents and so forth, and I was saying, I don't think I was there. I don't remember that. I was saying, I don't think I was there, and it got a bit of a joke, actually. And then somebody said something, it was like a trigger, and this whole feeling came over me, and I thought, all these things started flooding back. And from then on, I had a dreadful time for a few years. So I went to see a psychiatrist and, all that sort of thing, got some support. But I do remember feeling that I shouldn't have gone to this reunion. It was the first time I marched. That was very emotional. I'm thinking, this is not good. And that's when things started to go downhill. And it took me years to get over that and realise what was happening, and a lot of support too. So that's affected my life. It's affected, you know, I had built up a career. I was running a business, and I was shortening my circle because I was getting angry, telling people, you know, wasn't good for business, you know, telling people to piss off or whatever if I didn't like them or whatever. So I was aggressive, I suppose. And eventually I retired because, you know, it was affecting my business. It would have been probably easier to bury them, but there were still things going on that weren't attractive. And other people, my wife particularly, I think, was aware of them, but I wasn't. So in that respect, once I started getting some help from psychiatrists and so forth, at least once I understood what was going on, I figured I could tackle it. Yeah, no, I think I have. I'm a lot better now than what I was. I had to come to terms with why I went, because when I went, I thought I was all gung-ho. The government's asked me to go to the army and I'm doing a good job, you know, for my country. And then you think to yourself, when you analyse it, this was all bullshit. You know, it was a political war. It's hard to justify why people lost their lives. And so you've got to come to terms with all that shit. And you've got to, you know, I think I'm a reasonably smart guy, but I've got to, you know, you've got to justify it in your own mind that you weren't stupid. And I don't think I was, and I think everyone went there for the right reasons. And at the time, you know, it was the right thing to do. But I went back there in the later on as a tourist, and you see all these people, and they're nice people, and you know, I met people we were fighting against, and it just doesn't make sense. But that's what war is. It's just stupidity. It's politicians sending young men out to die. So, you know, you've got to come to terms with that too. When I first went into national service, I loved the army. I thought it was a great experience. You know, and there were funny times in Vietnam too. There were good things, but it's the aftermath that gets you. And I watch the television today, and I think about the young blokes and people like, you know, Robert Smith and other veterans that are criticised by the press for. I remember one photograph of them carrying on in their bar or whatever, and it's sort of, they were made as people that loved war and loved killing people. Well, it's not like that at all. I mean, you're there and you're there to kill people, and they're killing you. And you're all in it together, so it's natural if you've come away from a battle and you've survived, and you've got other dead people, you're winning and you celebrate. And that's why it's so hard for these young blokes when they get home, because how do you justify that? And all this goes through your head, and the suicide rate that goes on with veterans. You know, even in my day, there were people that committed suicide. And these young blokes today, people say, why are they doing it? They're doing it because they can't come to terms with war and what they've been asked to do, and then coming back into civilian life. It's not hard to, you don't have to be a rocket science to work that out. And so that affects you, you know, even watching the news today and thinking about Ukraine and Gaza and all those places. I mean, you feel like Putin and Trump wouldn't grab a gun and go out. and fight the war, but they sit back there just saying, oh yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. They should make them go out and do what all these poor people are doing that are getting killed, and all the children and the civilians that are dying. It's you just can't come to terms with it. It's terrible. Don't go to war. Don't have, don't support politicians who want to go to war. Not, unless Australia was being attacked, I can't see any logical reason to send our young men overseas to fight for a war that most days on most occasions is political. With the exception of Ukraine, I mean, they've been attacked. They're doing a great job defending themselves, and we should support them in every way we can. But it would be naive to think you could go over there. One of our members here, Kat Parker, lovely girl, one of her family friends went over to Ukraine to help them to fight, and he's been captured by the Russians, and they don't know whether he's alive or dead. Now, he probably had good intentions, but I can bet my bottom dollar when he got there, he thought, shit, what have I done? He wouldn't been trained, just don't do it. Don't do it. Because once people are shooting at you, it's not a good feeling. Yes, the RSL, I think, I can remember when we finished, the RSL shunned us. There was a lot stronger then, and some members didn't think that Vietnam was a real war. And I remember a lot of my mates were really jacked off with the RSL and said, we'll never join the RSL the way we've been treated. And that was a Vietnam thing too, I think, in the community, because, you got home in the 70s, you had short hair, everyone had long hair. It was hard to establish yourself, because I think people thought the war was wrong. There was a lot of community against it. So veterans would have been fighting for that, what I said before, justification of why they went, because they'll all tell you, we were winning while I was there, but something went wrong. What brought me here was in a roundabout way, my psychiatrist sent me up to the gym at the Repat. I met a few of the guys up there that were in Tramways RSL. Went down there with talked Jono into coming down as well. We both went down there as just members. We enjoyed the camaraderie and the atmosphere, and we've finished up here. And I saw myself here. I see myself here as being one of the youngest, and I feel I have a duty to look after the older members in their later years. I want to do as much for them, give them the best time they could have in the years they've got left. And I'm the secretary. I took that job on. It's the hardest job, no one wants it. I took it on not because I'm good at it, I'm probably I'm a salesman, I hate being the secretary, but I knew I could do it, so I thought, I'll do it. And I suppose I'm doing it because no one else will do it. Our RSL here, the Camberwell Pompey Elliott RSL, is to me about friendship, camaraderie, and a community, the community spirit. I see it as a safe place for people to go and an opportunity for a hall for people to use as regularly as possible.